sponsored by DeleteMe. For 4 years now, When Phones Were Fun has been all about devices from days past, some of which pack such potently narcotic nostalgia that people like me would still carry them today, if we could. Sadly, we can't. They no longer connect to the cloud, as 2G and 3G networks go dark, and most can't even be used on Wi-Fi at home, because the very internet itself doesn't work the way it used to. So, what if you could transform a device that does work, your modern Android or iPhone, into something that tickled that vintage itch in a different way? Something like a Palm Treo from 2005, or a Windows Phone from 2010, or a tricorder from 2367, filtered through the lens of 1990s science fiction. Well, today on MrMobile, I'm going to show you how to do just that. Windows. For millions of us, it was the on-ramp to a new world of possibilities. And an app called Launcher 95 in the Google Play Store can bring those beige box vibes to your pocket, as long as you're on Android. As the name suggests, this is a fairly simple replacement of the launcher, the part of Android most folks think of as the home screen. Typically, it's designed and maintained by your phone's manufacturer as a way to add special features and give the phone some of its brand identity. But you can swap it out as easily as downloading an app. You just snag Launcher 95 from the Play Store, choose it as your default home app in Settings, and ta-da! Start button goodness from Windows 95, Windows XP, and beyond. I'm showing this on Samsung's Galaxy S24 Ultra because I find the S Pen helpful with this interface that, after all, was intended for use with a mouse and keyboard. But the beauty of Android is that many launchers will also scale to whatever screen size you give them, so the Galaxy Fold 6, with its almost square display, only adds to the retro delight. Your apps live in the Start menu, and you can pin often used ones to favorites, or add them to the desktop. Though if you do, I'd recommend finding an icon pack that better matches the Windows aesthetic, or at least turning on the Pixelate option in the settings. And while Launcher 95 comes with approximations of the wallpapers used on those old platforms, you can always replace them with something more authentic. That's all great if you've got a stylus and a big enough screen, but what about an old platform that was designed for mobile? Windows Phone had one of the most striking software designs of all time. Its stark white-on-black text and bold monoblock aesthetic was minimalist, before that became shorthand for a surrender to insipid lifelessness. And thanks to a download called Launcher 10, Android users can get a very authentic taste of it. I first installed Launcher 10 on the special edition Nothing Phone 2A, just because I think it's a fun piece of hardware that hasn't gotten enough love on the channel. But the more I asked Launcher 10 to do, the more it tended to bog down on this phone, especially when I sprung for the extra fee to unlock live tiles to show my notifications. So I went back to the more potent S24 Ultra, whose boxy corners and beautiful display better fit the aesthetic of Windows Phone anyway. Kind of reminds me of a Nokia Lumia 1520. And then I resumed the tweaking. So much fiddling. Yeah, that's something to prepare for if you want to really go the extra mile with theming. It takes work. I spent over an hour adjusting columns, rows, margins, text sizes, and colors and preferences before I got this to exactly the flavor I wanted, namely Windows Phone 8.1, circa spring 2014. But I didn't truly feel like it was a proper modern Lumia until I chased down an archived copy of the original Windows Phone system sounds, uploaded them to Google Drive, downloaded them to the Ultra, copied them into the ringtone and notification folders, and assigned them so I could hear those charming mid-noughties cyber jingles again. I actually like the end result so much, I might just leave the Ultra like this for a while. It's not a full Windows Phone revival. To do that, you'd need to replace all the core apps with custom versions, since the design coherence just falls apart whenever you leave the home screen. Still, It's a lovely glimpse of the greatness that might have been possible had Microsoft been able to hang in there for the long haul. Okay, I know not everyone's a Star Trek fan, but even if you didn't grow up like I did, wishing for 24th century tech like tricorders to materialize, you've gotta admire the attention to detail that's gone into this one. Trek Total Interface is actually kind of a double dip. It's a custom interface for a custom launcher called Total Launcher. So you need to install both to make it work. And if you thought tweaking the last one was involved, boy, this one will try your patience. My advice when setting this up is to make frequent use of the backup feature, because I can't seem to find an undo option anywhere, and it's so easy to accidentally annihilate the careful layout that makes LCARs work. But in exchange for that dedication, you get a true working version of that fictitious future software dreamed up by Michael Okuda for Star Trek The Next Generation in the late 80s. With in-universe interactive elements sitting right alongside working widgets that link directly to your own apps. Now, I've installed this on the Galaxy Flip 6, which I've also enhanced with some of the developer's custom video files to bring the illusion to the cover screen. And, thanks to a lucky find on Reddit, I've also learned how to use Automate to assign custom sounds when I open or close the tricorder. Completing the illusion, a Starfleet label or two from the out-of-print Star Trek sticker book, which I got on eBay. About the only thing left to do, if I had a 3D printer, would be to print up one of those enclosures Paramount designed to make Galaxy Flips into tricorders for Star Trek Picard a couple years ago. Yeah, they really used Samsung phones as tricorders. Full circle moment. Pretty cool. All of this, by the way, is linked in the description below, where you'll also find today's sponsor. And when we come back, we'll close things out with Palm.
As a person with an internet presence, I'm never going to scrub all my information completely from it, nor would I want to. But I don't like it when other people buy and sell my information.
To help stop that, I've been using today's sponsor, DeleteMe, for over a year to take back control of my personal information. In that time, DeleteMe has reviewed over 28,000 listings across the web, and it's removed my personal information from 125 separate data brokers. That means private information like my physical addresses, property records, and names of my family members scrubbed, without me having to lift a finger. That makes it harder for people to buy that information to use against me for phishing or identity theft. And because data brokers are relentless, DeleteMe is too. They'll repeat the process every 3 months as long as I'm subscribed. So take back control and delete your personal data from the web. Visit joindeleteme.com/MrMobile and use code MrMobile for 20% off. Thanks to DeleteMe for sponsoring this video. The last time we talked about Palm on this channel, it was for that epic retrospective about the smartphone we all wish we could bring back. But Palm's legacy predates the Pre by over 10 years. The various incarnations of the Palm Pilot were the first really successful pocket computers, which later grew into phones of all shapes and sizes from all manner of manufacturers running Palm OS. Today, thanks to the efforts of sites like palmdb.net and the Internet Archive, even those who don't have a bunch of Necro trios lying around can experience this trailblazing software. CloudPilot Emu is a web app, also available in the iOS App Store, that lets you emulate a whole slew of Palm devices, from the grayscale glory days of the 3X to the multimedia maximalism of the Sony Clie. Almost everything works. The calendar, the to-do list, the memo pad, the stuff that introduced a whole generation to the concept of running your life on a pocket computer. Also alive and well, graffiti. That Galaxy Ultra might be the MVP for this video, thanks once again to that S Pen. Remember, this is a web app, so it works on Android just as well as iOS. But if you really want to go trio, you've got to run it on an iPhone, because you've got to use it with clicks. Don't worry, I already hit you with one sponsor, so I won't beat you over the head with my own keyboard accessory, but I will say that I was happy to find Clicks works nearly as well with Palm OS as it does with iOS. And it's a godsend if you're like me and never really got the hang of graffiti. Finally, when you get tired of tapping around in the stock software, the Internet Archive maintains a collection of over 500 third-party Palm OS apps, which can run right in a browser, no separate emulator required. Not that you'll learn anything new from playing Dope Wars for the 800th time, but if you weren't there, or you've forgotten, you'll get some great insights into these early days of third-party mobile software, before Apple made apps a household name. Folks, I know that emulators and launchers are nothing new. I mean, I first tried many of these years ago when they were less capable or more prone to bugs. So when I gave them another go here at the tail end of 2024 and found how much better they'd gotten, polished enough that I'm seriously considering leaving LCARS on the Flip and Launcher 10 on the Ultra, well, I just had to share the geeky joy. And until I partner up with a hardware hacker willing to help me cram an Android phone running Cloud Emu into the body of a Trio with a custom Clicks keyboard, this stuff is the closest I can get to running phones that work today on software from yesterday, when platforms were things to get passionate about, styluses and real keyboards were commonplace, and phones were fun. This video was produced with devices on loan from Samsung, Apple, Nothing, and Clicks, a company of which I am a co-founder with a financial interest. However, with the exception of today's sponsor, no company or developer had editorial input into this content, nor even an early preview. I called out the apps in this video because I like them, not because I was paid to. Coming up next on MrMobile, a travel tech video I'll be shooting at a Verizon event in New Orleans, a first for me. Hit me with your must-see, must-eat recommendations on Threads, Blue Sky, X, and Instagram at the handle Captain2Phones. Until next time, from Michael Fisher, thanks for watching. And stay mobile, my friends.